So recently, the devs of Outcome Memories and the owners of Faker EXE or regular EXE, whichever whatever you want to call them, and 2017X have officially decided that these characters will not be added to the game. Now this really sucks, and yeah, I know I'm a bit late to this, but I was hoping that within the 10 days that I did not cover this topic, that something good would come out of this. Maybe a different character, or maybe they would change their mind, but it looks like that is not going to be the case. So, sadly, it does look like they will not be re-adding either of these killers. And if you do not know who these are, Faker EXE, he's a super iconic EXE, probably one of the best well-known. I'd probably say he's in the top 5 of well-known. He takes the form of what looks to be regular Sonic, and then he slowly turns into a far more corrupt and evil counterpart created by 2011X. And it kind of sucks that he's not going to be added. Honestly, this was one of the most look forward to killers that was going to come out in the game. And it really sucks, but at least we can look at the bright side and say this opens up a new opportunity for another killer that possibly would have played like how he did. Of course, they could not decide on how his playstyle would have worked, which really sucks. And it sucks to think that sometimes whenever it comes to a community in games like this, where the characters are so split, it can sometimes lead to people caring more about their character rather than, the community that supports that character or wants to see that character in the game. And it really sucks when things like this happen. 2017X, he was a lot more recent. He's been around for a while, but he got a lot more popular recently with, the FNF song he had of him, and even getting a skin in, another game, like Pillar Chase, where 2017X does get a lot more recognition, as well as a Faker. He's also in that game. So if you guys want to check that out to see how they would have played, feel free to do that. But it looks for now that from the foreseeable future, there will be no Faker EXE or 2017X in Outcome Memories. But, things like this kind of happen, and hopefully in the future, the developers, as well as the people who own these characters, can look for a path that benefits both sides and benefits the community more. Because, it kind of feels a little bit selfish to hog your character and kind of, especially with, what's going on where people just want their characters to be stronger and more powerful in game just because it's theirs and, they have a special place in their heart for that particular character. But, of course, when things get added to a game, they can't just be overwhelmingly broken or have a playstyle that doesn't make sense or doesn't fit the game, which I'm assuming is what happened with Faker and 2017X. In games like, Dead by Daylight, where characters are obviously super strong, some of these killers are obviously super strong, you can't just, make them overpowered because they're your one character. And, eventually, you got to come along with terms and do things in a professional way that leads to that character actually getting to be implemented in the game. But I guess that's all for today, on a, kind of a sad note that those characters are being removed, and there is no revertation of that coming in the future, so that does kind of suck. But hey, they're not completely out of the window. I'm pretty sure I've heard things that there might be a sliver of a chance that these characters do come back. And of course, they weren't done completely wrong, because they do exist in media like, Pillar Chase 2, where these are characters that are somewhat represented, even with 2017X just being a skin. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. Anyways, that'll do it for this video today, and I will see you guys later.